The 80s were a wild time. It was the decade of insane hair full of hairspray, colorful clothes, Miami Vice, Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and most importantly, heavy metal. 80s heavy metal might be among the best, worst, and most iconic metal eras to ever exist. No other decade was as wild as the 80s, when heavy metal ruled the world and men in spandex and makeup were considered the biggest playboys and womanizers on earth.
You sent in these cards and letters voting for your favorite metal videos of all time, and now MTV's giving them to you for Christmas. So ring out the holidays with me, Santa Snyder, and my surprise guest as we count down the 20 most humongous videos ever on Heavy Metal Mania's Measure of Metal, Thursday night at 10, 9 Central on MTV. Watch it!
80s heavy metal, be it hair metal, thrash metal, or any of the other hundreds of subgenres, was something special. It was a time unlike any other because the music here felt fresh and original and was constantly changing. The genre was evolving fast, with many new bands fighting for the spotlight and trying to dominate the scene. There is a lot of debate and gatekeeping within the community on what can be considered metal and what can't, as well as what bands were metal and which weren't. And it's easy to do that from today's perspective, 40 to 30 years after the genre was in its prime and ruling the earth, even though gatekeepers are the biggest clowns on earth and their opinions should matter anyway. But back then, during the late 70s all the way through the 80s, metal was still evolving and barely out of its infancy. Legendary bands such as Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and Led Zeppelin are among the founding fathers of metal and still considered to be the foundation upon which all other bands stand. They influenced the genre in massive ways and also helped to create the image and even lifestyle that many bands later would try to imitate and recreate. Deep Purple and Black Sabbath in particular were seen as the heaviest bands around at the time. They were the original headbangers that thrashed the stage while playing the guitar like wild demons on cocaine and LSD. And edgiest stuff around, and even today, watching their live concerts, it's easy to see why. I mean, even now, watching the video for Paranoid by Sabbath, it still feels like some of the coolest and heaviest shit around, with all the black and white satanic imagery, lightning strikes, and Ozzy banging his head like he's possessed by Satan, the king of rock himself. Hearing this stuff in 1970 either made you fear for your soul or your daughter's panties. Sabbath laid one side of the foundation by introducing some of the heaviest riffs and edgiest aesthetics that were sure to piss off Christians and conservatives, calling them devil worshippers and a corruption of the youth. Deep Purple, on the other hand, laid the other side of the foundation by introducing much more refined lyrics and complex compositions that were genius and honestly unrivaled to this day, in my opinion. Ritchie Blackmore and Jon Lord were creating music that felt like it was from another world and a mind-blowing experience to witness. You have to keep in mind that back in the 70s have been as heavy as Sabbath, they presented themselves as what we today would consider metal. Their demonic outfits, satanic images, songs about sex, drugs and rock and roll made them edgy and one of the most successful bands of the time. It's also important to note how their outfits impacted the metal genre in profound ways, going so far as to even heavily influencing the entire black metal scene visually.
Asylum, the new Kiss album. Accept no imitations.
Available at all Tape World and Record Town locations for $6.99.
The greatest part of 80s metal was the aesthetic and attitude the genre had. It didn't take itself too seriously, and music was often about partying, sex, and drinking more than you can handle. The lyrics weren't groundbreaking in most cases, and honestly, it didn't have to be. The genre had a big party attitude, which was reflected in the music videos, and their real-life behavior.
Somebody was asking me the other day how I got the idea for the song Animal. Said I hooked up a videotape in my bedroom, rolled it back, made it rhyme.
And that's one thing that I love so much about it. Listening to hair metal, for example, feels refreshing and even relaxing, especially when compared to some of the later or more modern bands and songs. It was the type of music that you could listen to while on a romantic date with your girlfriend, and then definitely get lucky if you were smart enough to play some Dokken or Bon Jovi. Say what you want about the wild styles of metal bands back then, but you can't deny that the look they had was 10 times as original as pure black shirts that you see on most metal. Quiet Riot and so many more look like they were about to rock till the end of time, while also being wild party animals. Be honest, who would you rather hang out with, Wasp or Motley Crue in their glory, or some band wearing black shirts, cargo pants, and biker beards, screaming like they smoked too many cigarettes on the way to their gig? I know which ones I'd rather be around, especially when looking for a good time, as I want nothing but a good time. Motley Crue is among the most important bands within the decade because they really formed and created hair metal the way we know it today. They took the stage presence and makeup from Kiss, the edgy satanic images and lyrics from Sabbath, and the glam of the New York Dolls, David Bowie, and T-Rex, and created a sound that had not been done before by anyone. It might be hard to believe, but back when Motley Crue released Too Fast for Love, it was seen as the heaviest, edgiest, and sleaziest shit around. In fact, it was so heavy that conservative Christians started nationwide campaigns to ban this type of music and the whole genre because it was corrupting kids and being a bad influence on society, as well as straight up demon worship, apparently. Other bands followed, each trying to amp up the edginess, the guitar riffs, and see how much attention they can get by being the baddest, wildest bands around. Among my favorite bands of that period is Wasp, a band that I personally consider to be extremely underrated, but also important in how it shaped the sound of 80s metal and was able to walk the line between being a pure heavy metal band and a hair metal or a glam metal band. Their albums, especially the earlier ones, were a great mix between heavy and glam sounds, and I consider Blackie Lawless to have one of the most amazing and original voices I have ever heard.
Kiss away the pain and leave me lonely. I'll never know if love's a lie.
Wasp managed to write some of the most offensive lyrics, and it got so bad that some of their albums, such as Animal, was straight up banned in some countries, heavily censored, and almost banned in the US. The PMRC, led by Tipper Gore, declared war on the band as well as on most other metal bands of the time and tried to straight up ban the entire genre. All of this ended up in front of Congress and forced record labels to now put warning signs and age ratings on albums. I'm sure Tipper Gore thought this would have the effect she desired, but it actually increased metal album sales and the sales of any album that had such a rating in general, because the music now seemed edgier and wilder than before, officially being deemed too explicit. From a modern perspective, it's hilarious to me how these people honestly thought that some heavy riffs and explicit lyrics was such a big deal and that they had to waste so much time and energy fighting a fight they were sure to lose anyway. It seems so insignificant considering that there were far more important and pressing issues that Gore and similar groups could have invested their time into. The 80s were definitely a wild time and a decade that stands out from all others that came before or after. It's hard for us to understand, especially those of us that haven't lived through it and experienced this crazy insanity firsthand. A lot of those things that were considered cool and groundbreaking back then are often seen in a cringy or badly dated way, which is something almost every decade has to deal with sooner or later. Heavy metal in the 80s was a unique experience because it was all about having fun and making love. It was the type of music that was designed to get you on your feet and shake your ass until you drop dead on the highway to hell. One of the most important bands of the time, arguably the one band that dominated and ruled all others in the 80s, was Judas Priest. A band so heavy and amazing that their front singer was named the Metal God. Judas Priest was one of the most important bands to have ever lived, and they essentially created the whole aesthetic that is often associated with metal music. The leather-wearing biker rebel that keeps breaking the law.
Is that what kind of drugs you're doing?
Yeah, drugs. Fucking every beer.
Cocaine, baby.
All right, so you guys like Priest, right?
Yeah.
All right. How about Dawkins? How's anybody feel about that?
Dawkins.
That would not be what it is today.
Are they really about the test?
To the dawn, loving to the morning. I'm gone. What would you say if you saw Rob Halford right now?
I'd jump his bones.
They introduced a whole BDSM heavy side to metal music that you can still see in a lot of modern bands. Judas Priest dominated the scene, often walking the line between heavy and glam music. People often don't get just how important Judas Priest was and also just how far back they go as a band. They were on the front lines during the new wave of British heavy metal, which is a whole massive topic for another video, but it's safe to say that metal might have died if it wasn't for this new wave of British heavy metal. A genre which gave birth to bands such as Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Raven, Diamond Head, and many more. In fact, it was so important that it literally directly impacted thrash metal and Metallica, who started out as a Diamond Head cover band.
Don't sweat it. Get it back to you.
80s metal was a time of party, sex, drugs and rock and roll, excess, heavy makeup and wild guitar riffs that will never grow old or be forgotten. The aesthetics of that period might be outdated, but the music lives on, and with the rise of social media is attracting more and more younger audiences.
It sucks shit. Heavy metal rules. Heavy metal rules. All that punk shit sucks. It doesn't belong in this world. It belongs on fucking Mars, man. What the hell is punk shit?